The School of Hard Knocks 24 took place at the Spectra Place in Estevan. Amateur fighters from across Canada battled it out in the Hard Knocks cage.
To the School of Hard Knocks.
Ladies and gentlemen, this School of Hard Knocks fight is an amateur bout in the heavyweight division and is brought to you by Power Dodge. And now, let's meet the fighters. He's coming to you out of Humboldt, Saskatchewan. This is Damon Steedman.
So Damon Steedman comes down to the cage out of Humboldt, Saskatchewan. The Humboldt Taekwondo Club making his amateur debut, weighed in at 263 pounds and 40 years of age.
Yeah, that'll be a factor you might think. I bet he'll disagree with that. I'm sure he's as confident as ever. And he had to cut down a lot of weight, actually. He went much heavier back in the fall. He was 327 pounds, cut down to 263, so he worked hard to cut the weight. Feels he's in really great shape, and he wants to display that tonight in his amateur debut here in Estevan.
Well, and a very interesting guy. I hadn't had a chance to meet him before today, and when I talked to him, he has been a full contact, medieval-style sword fighter for 20 years. So he said he may not have stepped into the cage before, but he has hundreds of fights under his belt as a medieval sword fighter and performer. And he said it's not that it's not one of those ones that you see for show at some sort of Renaissance fair. It is guys going at it in a tournament style and full-on sword fighting. Nobody else with a bigger reach.
His opponent. He's fighting out of Estevan. This is Wade Baldwin.
So Wade Baldwin comes down to the cage, and again, we talked about it earlier with Stephen Aarons when he was in here. A 8.5-minute war on the floor, if you will, between Wade Baldwin and Stephen Aarons, both of them throwing from the waist and connecting, and Wade coming out on the wrong end of that one.
Yeah, as entertaining as the fight was, that's not the way he wanted to end, especially taking the loss. I think this fight he's going to be a little bit more controlled, try and be more methodical with his punches instead of stand and just bomb away. So we'll look for that as, again, the hometown crowder wants to see him have another barn-burning fight, but I think in his mind, he'd be more comfortable taking his time.
Well, and it's interesting, I talked to him about that fight, and he said he kind of Shane Carwin'd himself. Every MMA fans, of course, remember Shane Carwin fighting Brock Lesnar, and Brock covered up for the better part of the first round, and Shane Carwin just threw punch after punch after punch after punch, and come round two, he had nothing left. That's what Wade Baldwin described that fight as. By the middle of the second round, he had absolutely nothing left. He felt like he'd thrown over 100 punches, and just had nothing left to give, and it took another round for him to be finished off, but nevertheless, he ran out of gas, and he's taken 10 pounds off his frame, weighed in at 233, so that way he might be able to go a little longer.
And now, the official Hard Knocks fighter introductions. In the Power Dodge blue corner, it's his amateur debut. He's 40 years old and stands 6 feet, 4 inches tall. He weighed in at 263 pounds, fighting out of Humboldt Taekwondo Club. From Humboldt, please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Damon Smashy Time Steedman. And in the Boston Pizza red corner, he's 0-2 as an amateur, 34 years old, and stands 6 feet, 2 inches tall. He weighed in at 233 pounds, fighting out of Estevan Combat Sports. From Estevan, please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Wade Baldwin. This bout will be contested under amateur rules. The referee in charge of the Hard Knocks action is Mr. Elvis Lyon.
Elvis Lyon in charge of the cage. An interesting fact to note, our other referee, Lucian Phillip, the jiu-jitsu trainer of Damon Steedman. So clearly wouldn't have been the fairest way to referee the fight to have Lucian in there, and so Elvis back in the cage. And both these fighters are ready to go here in the early going. A big kick thrown, but Steedman falls on throwing the kick. Hammer fist now coming from Baldwin, and Steedman trying to get through, trying to drive through for a single leg. Baldwin doing a good job of defending with a bit of a sprawl, and Brawlin now ends up in the mount.
And these are some big boys right in front of us, and Baldwin going to work with the right hands. But Steedman holding on so far, trying to get out of this, but Baldwin relentless. And both men getting some early shots here.
Well, and Steedman said he knew Baldwin would come out with an early flurry and found if he could survive it, then he'd have a good chance to win this fight. But he's got to survive it here as Baldwin trying to put on, might be an arm triangle there. It doesn't look like, it looks like it might have slipped loose, but Steedman in no danger of being choked, but his landing punches from the bottom here and trying to pop out. Again, stands 6'5", weighs 263 pounds. Easily the biggest fighter we've had in the Hard Knocks Fighting Championship, but Wade Baldwin doing a good job of holding him down and trying to finish the fight.
And Baldwin wanted to start off slower, but so far he's been really quick, so you got to watch that if you want to keep that pace in check. But right now he's actually having some success. These punches aren't wasted, they're landing, and Steedman's got to be careful.
Steedman also landing punches from the bottom, but Baldwin obviously landing the more damaging of the strikes. Steedman now bleeding from the nose, trying to push over on the mount, but unable to do so as Baldwin has held this mounted position for the better part of a minute now after the first 30 seconds. And you can hear the coaches from the corner of Damon Steedman trying to encourage him, but Wade Baldwin now dropping punches, and that's the end of the fight. This one is over. My mistake, punches to the back of the head. Baldwin being cleared off of Steedman. I thought that fight was over, but this fight is not yet done. Looks like punches to the back of the head, and we'll see what the official ruling is here from the official.
There was a few there, I think 3 or 4 right to the back of Steedman's head. And maybe Baldwin got a bit caught up there, and he's getting a bit of a warning here. But
and not just a warning, looks like he's gonna have a point deducted for punching to the back of the head. So Elvis must have given him a warning or two, and Wade will find himself down a point, and that is crucial here as we see the punches coming in clearly to the back of the head of Damon Steedman, and Elvis stepping in, and the crowd immediately thought, and I thought too, that the fight was over before Elvis threw up the timeout signal. So punches to the back of the head costing Wade Baldwin a point, and in a round that he was clearly winning, that is a significant problem for him.
Yeah, that's a big issue, because you're right, he was winning that round, getting many shots in. Unfortunately, a bit too aggressive. He wanted to control himself this fight, and maybe a sign there of that just go-getting attitude, and it cost him a point there. He'll have to shake that off and just move on and continue with his game plan.
And Elvis Lyon now giving Damon the proper amount of time. Again, 5 minutes allotted after an illegal blow. The doctor has not yet come into the cage, and Damon now calling the official over, and we'll see what the word is. Okay, it looks like he's good to go. So we are back underway here in the first round that had Wade Baldwin leading by a significant margin, but costing himself a point due to an illegal blow. Rushing in, and Steedman trying to use the reach. Big spinning back fist there, landed by Baldwin.
And now both men throwing bombs again, and Steedman got some shots in. Now a big takedown, and big bodies hitting the mat there. That'll bring up a roar. And now shots to the front of the head this time. Steedman in trouble. That's it.
This fight is over. Wade Baldwin gets his first win, and somebody in the crowd gets a souvenir as they get a mouthpiece from the mouth of the winner, Wade Baldwin. He swarmed him, he took him down, he used his ground and pound very effectively, and a big hug for the man in our main event, Derek Daku, who will be fighting for the heavyweight title here in just a couple moments.
And Baldwin's got to be happy with his performance. He came in, he was more methodical, he wanted to be anyhow, and it worked out tonight. He boxed Steven several times right in the chin, and gives Steven some credit. He had a pretty good chin going. He took many shots. His face is bloody now, but decisive win for Baldwin, and Steven, smile on his face. He knows he was beaten. He'll congratulate Baldwin on a job well done.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the official decision brought to you by Power Dodge. At 2 minutes and 16 seconds of the very first round, the winner by verbal tap out in the red corner, Wade Baldwin!
To find out more about Hard Knocks Fighting and upcoming Hard Knocks events, please visit hardknocksfighting.com.
This school of Hard Knocks Fight is an amateur bout at a catch weight of 175 pounds and is brought to you by the Tap House. And now, let's meet the fighters. He's fighting out of Kenora. This is Travis Driscoll.
So Travis Driscoll making his way down to the Hard Knocks cage for the first time, coming in 1-0 as an amateur, a winner by knockout in the first round of his very first fight.
And that's got him feeling good for his second fight. And he's looking for another knockout this go around, or a choke if he goes to the ground. So he's looking to end this early. I don't think he wants to go to the distance, so we'll see if he can get an early start, which he wants.
Well, he says he's been training on and off for the last 10 years, but has only been seriously focused on it for the last year, and wanting to get into the cage now that he's reached the age of 33, says that it's time for him to start taking this seriously before time runs out on a potential career.
Yeah, and he knows a bit about his opponent tonight, Ryan Starkel, but the last time he saw him was, I believe, solid 2 months ago. And he feels that Starkel's much improved since then, so he's not really going to judge the last fight in preparing for this one. He's expecting a much better Ryan Starkel and a very good challenge. And I think he's up for it. He looked pretty confident during that pre-fight interview, and I can sense some confidence as he makes his way to the ring right now.
And his opponent. He's fighting out of Winnipeg. This is Ryan Starkel.
So Ryan Starkel comes down to the cage out of Ultimate Muay Thai in Winnipeg, Manitoba, looking to spoil the birthday of Travis Driscoll. Won his debut fight for Hard Knocks, had another fight with a different organization and lost that fight. Says he took too much comfort in his first win and got lazy at the gym, and that caused him to come out a little rusty.
And that could be trouble for Travis Driscoll, because with that extra motivation from Ryan Starkel, yeah, he'll be bringing it tonight. And he's been training really hard for this fight, really feels he's prepared. And he always is a tough guy outside the cage, despite his size, so he's looking forward to this. They're both equal weight tonight, so that shouldn't be too big of a factor. He steps into the ring, hands in the air, he looks ready to go.
And now, the official Hard Knocks Fighter introductions. In the Power Dodge blue corner, he's 1-0 as an amateur, 33 years old, and stands 5 feet, 11 inches tall. He weighed in at 171 pounds, fighting out of United Fighter MMA from Kenora. Please welcome Hard Knocks Fighter, Travis Driscoll. And in the Boston Pizza red corner, He's 1-1 as an amateur, 28 years old, and stands 5 feet, 10 inches tall. He weighed in at 167 pounds, fighting out of Ultimate Muay Thai from Winnipeg. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Ryan Starkel! This bout will be contested under amateur rules. The referee in charge of the Hard Knocks action is Mr. Elvis Lyon.
Elvis Lyon in charge of our Hard Knocks action, of course, as Ryan Starkill and the black and white trunks comes out to a face-off against Travis Triscoll out of United Fighter MMA in the red, white, and black trunks. And a big front kick early, and another kick thrown in response by Starkill as they get up against the cage. And a nice takedown there by Starkill, with Triscoll winding up in the dominant position and starting to throw punches from there.
Yeah, very fast start here. Both men, some quick punches and takedown attempts. But right now it's Triscoll on top, and Starkill's got to play some defense here and get him out of a situation.
Triscoll trying to free that arm, looking for the ground and pound. Got a half pass now in the half guard of Starkill. Nice punches there from Triscoll.
I think he's trying to get a full position here. He's kind of got a half grasp on him here. Now he's throwing some right hands, which are getting the side of the head. But I think Starkill is handling them all right.
A little bit of damage actually opening up a cut over the eye and a little bit over the nose, a little bit over the eye, a bit of a mouse growing, and it gets bigger as I talk about it on the forehead of Ryan Starkill.
And that's a tough spot for a cut that could trickle into his eyes if it's as big as it could be. So something to watch out here. But as for now, Triscoll just continuing his position dominance here. I'm sure earning some points along the way.
A little bit harder to target that than under full MMA rules, as there's no elbows to the head of a downed opponent, or no elbows to the head of an opponent, period, here in Estevan under the amateur rules.
And still continued shots here from Triscoll, but Starkill not taking many violent blows. There is that cut, but he's been not throwing too many punches either, and not making too many efforts to get out of this grasp. And now, as a result, official will stand them up, and we'll try again here.
So not enough action there, and I believe Travis Triscoll thinks the round is over. Walking back to his corner and heading back out now. And both men again with a quick kick, but a right hand coming from Triscoll at the same time.
And now a different look here for Starkill as he's standing up, trying to catch up in this round, because right now, gotta believe Triscoll's winning. So we'll see what Starkill can do in the last 35 seconds here.
Triscoll swinging and missing after a little bit of battle for position there. Travis pushing the action.
Kick there connected on the side of the hip there. I think Starkill is okay with that one. He doesn't look too affected. There's a good kick.
Fighters again throwing a kick, and this time that one a little low. Starkill went down hard.
Needless to say, that one connected. Unfortunately, in an area where you don't want a kick to connect.
No, you certainly don't want to be kicked there. And I'm sure we'll see the replay here in a moment. There it is.
Well, I think both men were kicking at the same time. That exposed an area. And that area, yeah.
That area took a kick that you don't want to take.
And Triscoll knew what he connected with. As soon as that landed, he backed away, and I think he was apologetic right away, which, why wouldn't he be? That was a solid shot.
So a bit of a front kick against a side kick, and the front kick won that one to the chagrin of Ryan Starkill, who has not yet regained his feet. Now again, he does have 5 minutes to recover, and I cannot stress enough to anyone out there that's thinking about getting into MMA or as an amateur fighter, if this happens to you, take the 5 minutes. Coming back early is not going to help you prove anything. You're not going to prove how tough you are. You're not gonna. I mean, this isn't America's Got Talent for anyone who saw that. I mean, this is not pleasant, and you need the time to recover because it may not be enough initially. I mean, if you don't take your time to recover, you're not going to be able to recover fully.
Yeah, and you want to be at your best to finish the round because there's still, a solid time left in the second round, and you don't want to lose it just because you were, trying to be more tough than what you really needed to be and try and go on. So I agree. If you're Ryan, I wouldn't feel any rush here until the official, demands you continue. Go for it. But for now, I like this. Just take your time, breathe, get your breath back, and continue your game plan.
Yeah, you got to let the pain go away if you've got the opportunity, and Ryan Starkill is doing that, and now to his knees, and we'll see whether or not he can get up. Again, they do have the full 5 minutes to take advantage of that, and despite the urging of the crowd that you may be able to hear, urging Ryan to continue, urging Ryan to get up, again, you have to take the time it takes, because if he rushes back into this and he's not 100%, it could end up costing him the fight.
Yeah, and both coaches also using this time to give some extra advice here when they got the break, as Coach Kelly and Coach Bongfeld giving some words to their men. And now Starkill's on his feet, still grimacing though.
Yeah, still very much in pain, and you can see it on the face. And on the other side of the cage, Triskel also being smart, not allowing himself to lose that kind of energy, to lose that adrenaline. He's getting out and making sure that can continue. And some advice from Brian Kelly: you don't get to be a Canadian champion Muay Thai without potentially taking 1 or 2 in the pills over the time, and maybe some pain relief techniques coming from a coach who has likely suffered that kind of pain in the past, and we'll see whether or not Starkill's able to continue here. Again, the grimace still on the face of Starkill, but again, 5 full minutes, and I believe it's been 3.5 minutes now, as per the timekeeper, since time was called. So we still got another 90 seconds, and again, take that 90 seconds. There's no need to rush back.
And if you're looking at Triskel, he's looking kind of anxious. He just asked the scorekeeper, was this time yet? Has this been 5 minutes? Like, no, still time. So he's anxious, and he's got to have that mindset, because Triskel had some good momentum in this round here, and he'll want to continue on that. Just like you mentioned, how the break can affect Starkill's performance next to the round if he rushes back. Triskel waiting around, it could have the same effect on him, just getting relaxed and not focused until that fight resumes. So we'll see how this plans out, and it looks like we're going to get going pretty quick here.
So I believe, yeah, Elvis Lyon coming over and asking Starkill if he can continue as the 5 minutes had expired. And the likely and expected touching of gloves there, as of course that blow never an intentional one. And Starkill looks to be now no worse for wear. No time left though in round number 2, and Travis Triskel doing an excellent job of checking that punch, because he was halfway through throwing a punch when the bell rang and the hand immediately dropped so as to not cause yet another illegal blow.
Yeah, and the officials have not been afraid to deduct points tonight. We've already seen it in a fight, so good job there to hold back. And I think another good job by the official to not deduct the points without low blow, because it was not intentional. And guys aren't here to hurt each other, here to compete in the nature of the sport, and that's all that was. Those things happen.
Well, the first one, of course, you're going to let that one go because, again, not intentional. Should it happen again, though, I have seen it on a couple occasions here in the Hard Knocks Fighting Championship where a point gets deducted. That was a nice front kick from Starkill there as the round came to an end, and you can see the left hand, or that's the takedown from earlier in the fight, my apologies. But yeah, that clearly the best of the round there, and likely that round going to Triskel as well.
I agree. Both men ready to go here, and we're underway here, both men.
Round number 2 underway as these fighters get going. A big swing and a miss from Triskel, which led to him eating a punch from Starkel and then responding with a kick of his own. And again, the kicks coming from Triskel fast and furious.
And I was going to say we kind of slowed down since the first round, but now we get some action here as another tie-up. Both men trying for a takedown here, but both defending it well. However, Triskel's got a bit of a leverage advantage here, and now he's throwing some body shots.
And more blood around the eye of Ryan Starkel. Looks like he's got a cut underneath the eye this time.
And you recognize that he's trying to block it with his shoulder there. As he can probably feel the blood coming down. He's got to be worrying about his vision as well with this.
Triskel backs up, and that is getting ugly under the eye of Ryan Starkel. But fortunately, because it's under the eye, not likely to stop a fight. That cut would have to be significantly worse for the doctor to consider it, because it's under the eye, it doesn't impede his vision, and should have no trouble with that as the fight continues.
And if you're Travis Triskel, that could be a giant bullseye. He might be working on that side of his face, because it's got to be bothering him.
And you can see the right hand's coming to the left side of Starkel's face, and again, bleeding from just underneath the eye. And but again, he was bleeding from above the eye earlier, and that seems to have closed up. So we'll see how lasting the damage is here on Ryan Starkel.
This is kind of disappointing for Starkel. See, he mentioned he knows Triskel likes to throw punches, and he's getting caught with them. So he knew the game plan coming in. Right now, not following as suit as he would have liked. And right now, he's not being as aggressive as he was in the first round either. Although he got a shot in there, but Triskel looking good so far.
Well, and Triskel at this point looks like he's playing it a bit safe, Steve. So he seems to, he goes in, he takes a couple strikes. When he had the opportunity to try and secure a takedown, he backed off of it, thinking that the striking, he's getting the better of it. So he just wants to continue that, and does that in that exchange there.
And some more punches thrown, none really landing. I think Starkel took one in the ribs there, but he absorbed it.
Starkel's got a big welt on the back of his ribs, likely from an earlier kick. You can see it there.
Oh, yeah.
The shape of Triskel's foot is carved out in red on the back of Ryan Starkel, and a big uppercut there to the eye of Starkel.
Just looking at Triskel's face, no real marks or anything to worry about. Although I think there's a cut on top of his head, as I mentioned that.
So again, not much time left, and Triskel trying to measure that punch, and as the bell rang, ducked behind Elvis as he thought that Starkel might be throwing a punch. And you're right, there is a cut on Travis Triskel. I believe might be at the top of his forehead. I'm not sure if that's where the blood was coming from, but nevertheless, a cut now on both fighters. You can see here in this exchange, both fighters really swinging for the fences, and that uppercut, again, backs off. Didn't swarm his opponent, didn't come in, at that point, not necessarily trying to finish the fight, more trying to manage the fight.
Yeah, he saw an opening, got the shots that he wanted to, and didn't want to waste any energy on some shots that might not connect. And, we saw that in a couple fights earlier, for example, Craig Goodry. He wasted some energy in some shots that didn't necessarily land. So I think Triskel didn't want to fall into that trouble, and got the shots he wanted, and he was satisfied with that.
So third and final round upcoming between Travis Triskel in the red and white Hayabusa trunks, the black and white predominantly trunks for Ryan Starkel, and you'll also be able to recognize Ryan Starkel by the pink mustache and 204 shaved into his head. Triskel swinging wildly, and the punches from his opponent getting through.
Yeah, Triskel, you got to think we had the advantage the first two rounds, so seeing him more aggressive this round, something surprising. You'd think he'd try and just coast to a victory here, but he's being aggressive, and Starkel's also throwing some punches.
Well, and Starkel's got to think he's down 2 rounds at this point, and he's going to have to finish the fight in this round if he wants to win. A big slapping kick off the forearm of Ryan Starkel, thrown by Travis Triskel, and doing an excellent job so far of controlling the fight, managing the fight, keeping his opponent at bay and throwing punches. But coming forward also looks good in the eyes of the judges, that cage control.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing. He's not landing massive blows, but just consistent good shots. And the refs got to notice that, and I think they're awarding points because of this reason. And for Starkey, you got to realize that you got to get some shots in, and he can't take these random kicks and jabs that he has been taking. And I think he's got to go for the kill here.
The big punch from Starkey. He is swarming Triskel with 1:40 left in round number 3. He has dropped him, and we'll see if he can finish here, but Triskel doing a good job of hanging on and hoping to recover after a big right hand from Ryan Starkey.
And we mentioned going for the kill, and a second later, big shot there, and now Starkey suddenly has the advantage here. He can put the fight away here if he can land a couple more shots here.
Triskel's in trouble. He walked away from his opponent, and before Starkey could get to him, it seems like he's recovered. And Starkey now rocked with a big hand, and he comes in looking for the kick and wisely checked it as there's no kicks to the head. And again, Triskel now swarming after rocking Starkey. Both fighters have been in trouble here in round number 3 with less than a minute to go.
Wow, that's a mistake by Starkey. He had him wobbling, he left himself open, took a shot. Now they're both in distress right now. And Triskel now trying to slow things down here as he was wobbling earlier.
And Starkey now going for the mount, trying to throw punches and end this fight. Again, likely needs to finish it if he wants to win it. Triskel pulled off the cage by Starkey, who again is inside control. Just 26 seconds to go here, and he's going to be looking to finish with blows as he comes down and tries to work ground and pound. Just 15 seconds now left on our endurance fight clock, as now he has his back. It's whether or not he can sink a choke here in the last 10 seconds. Just 10 seconds to go. Triskel trying to power his way through. That choke now locked on. Now does he tap? With just a few seconds, he taps! Ryan Starkey may have pulled this one out of the fire, tapping out Travis Triskel with just a few seconds left on the fight clock.
Unreal, he had to hold on for about 3 more seconds, Triskel did, but he didn't, he tapped. I'm not sure if you heard the 10-second or not, but wow, what a amazing win by Ryan Starkey, pulling one out of the hat. What an incredible round.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the official decision brought to you by the Tap House. The winner at 3 minutes in the 3rd round, the winner by tap out due to rear naked choke, in the red corner, Ryan Starkey.
Find out more about Hard Knocks Fighting and upcoming Hard Knocks events. Please visit hardknocksfighting.com.
His School of Hard Knocks fight is an amateur bout at a catch weight of 165 pounds and is brought to you by Audio Video Unlimited. And now, let's meet the fighters. He's coming to you out of Regina. This is Ron Gonzalez.
So Ron Chichi Gonzalez coming to us out of the Cheeky Fight Team in Regina, Saskatchewan, weighed in at 159 pounds, 1-0 as an amateur, won that fight by rear naked choke in the 1st round. And if you were at all an amateur wrestling aficionado in this country, you will certainly recognize Ron Chichi Rodriguez. Or Gonzalez Rodriguez.
Yeah, he's been wrestling for 25 years, and that is his strength. He's really proud of that aspect of his life, and he's preparing for this fight. He feels he's well prepared, although he is a little bit smaller than his opponent, but he feels ready to go, and we'll see if that wrestling and some body strength will be in display today.
And his opponent.
So Chris Wilson comes down to the cage.
He's fighting out of Calgary. This is Chris Wilson.
weighing 162 pounds out of Calgary, Alberta. The independent fighter again took this fight on 4 days' notice, and it says it was time to get into the cage now. And for a lot of people out there, that shirt will make sense to you. Keep calm and chive on. He has a real shirt on the way and said it didn't get here in time, so he had to go out and make one. But saying that that's helped him prepare for the fight, thinking to keep calm and chive on.
And yeah, we mentioned 4 days notice, so he is an on and off fighter, so he's having a tough time getting going. He says financial troubles are limiting him from training. So I don't know, maybe that's might be to his liking. Maybe he likes to just kind of be loosey-goosey and just wing it kind of thing. It's his first ever fight as an amateur, so it's all on the line here tonight, his first one.
And now, the official Hard Knocks fighter introductions. In the Power Dodge blue corner, he's 1-0 as an amateur, 38 years old, and stands 5 feet, 7 inches tall. He weighed in at 159 pounds, fighting out of HK Fight Team from Regina. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Ron Gonzalez. And in the Boston Pizza red corner, it's his amateur debut. He's 25 years old and stands 6 feet tall. He weighed in at 162 1/2 pounds, fighting independently from Calgary. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Chris Wilson. This bout will be contested under amateur rules. The referee in charge of the Hard Knocks action is Mr. Lucien Phillips.
Lucien Phillips, our referee. Both fighters coming to the center of the cage and touching gloves, heading back to the corner. No additional instructions ready. They got everything they needed in the dressing room. As Chris Wilson in the camo trunks looks to take on Ron Gonzalez, and the black trunks coming out of the blue corner. A very impressive training video run there by Ron Gonzalez.
Very interesting. Much like the stance Gonzalez is showing right here. Kind of a low rising kind of stance here, both hands swaying.
Well, again, a bit of a wrestling stance there. That idea that both hands are kind of up, prepped to grapple. It is a different stance than you traditionally see in MMA.
And it seems to be taking Chris Wilson back a bit. He's not really sure what angle to approach Gonzalez with here, as he's not really throwing too many attacks. There's a bit of a straight there, but Gonzalez, solid takedown, and he's on the attack.
What a takedown. That's a single leg. That's a single leg instructional video. No surprise there from the 25-year veteran wrestler.
And he got a couple of shots to the side of the head. He's got another one there. And Wilson using that cage as some leverage. And now he's using his length to get a bit of a roll here, but still Gonzalez on top.
Looked like he might have been trying to throw the legs over the head and isolate the arm for an arm bar.
And I think maybe a bit of a choke attempt here, maybe not, just trying to get some positioning by Gonzalez. However, Wilson putting the hands in the face, trying to disrupt any progress here. But Gonzalez throwing some shots here.
And he's completely trapped the arm of Wilson. Just checking with the official after every punch to see if more is required. And that tap, that's it. The arm of Wilson caught in the legs of Gonzalez and had trouble with the elbow. Gonzalez over to check him right away and making sure that he's all right as the cage door opens. But yeah, obviously torqued the elbow and got the submission.
And Wilson feeling some pain right now. That they're not looking a fun hold. I'm sure Gonzalez loved every moment of it. As look at the replay, right in the legs there, you can see his elbow. Oh yeah, that's a tough bend.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the official decision, brought to you by Audio Video Unlimited. At 1 minute and 31 seconds in the very first round, the winner by tap out due to straight armbar in the blue corner, Ron Gonzalez.
we'll get you back here in the center of the cage. Spent 25 years wrestling, maybe getting to MMA a little late.
Yeah, you know, those things in life you just gotta try and do, and you respect everybody that comes in here, but it's one of those rushes I love. Lots of sacrifice. I'm a little bit older, but I think I'm aging okay, but it's good. It's good. MMA is awesome. Thank you.
Now, I didn't, I thought you were going for a choke there, maybe trying to work something in with the shoulder, and then it was your legs that got the damage here on the replay.
Oh, okay, yeah, you know what? I just kind of flowed with it, to be honest with you. He was skirming pretty hard, you know, just go with the motions, but first thing is, you know, my striking coaches and my wrestling coach are second to none, and they put me in different situations all the time. So they're the reason. You're only as good as your trainers, and they got good trainers, so.
Well, and you're welcome to call them out by name so people know who to look for.
Well, these are the killers for the weekend. So, oh my God, Braden, this is Braden, this is Rob Rennebaum, and this is Robbie Lang. So they're my guys, they're my go-to guys. But you know, first and foremost, it's my family. They appreciate the sacrifices, and I love them to death. And the friends, the cheeky clients, Estevan, right on!
Now, we'll see you back in the Hard Knocks cage.
You know, I love this. You'll see me because I coach a lot of athletes. That's a family decision, and my wife's right there, so that's a private conversation. I love being here, to be honest, and this will grow, so I'll be involved in some way. I promise you that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, one more time for your winner, Ron Gonzalez.
To find out more about Hard Knocks Fighting and upcoming Hard Knocks events, please visit hardknocksfighting.com.
Fighting out of the Power Dodge blue corner. He has a record of 2 wins and 1 loss and weighed in at 159 1/2 pounds. Fighting out of the Winnipeg Academy of MMA. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, David Firecrotch Swanson! And in the Boston Pizza Red Corner, with a record of 4 wins and no losses, he weighed in at 161 pounds. Fighting out of Wiley Jiu-Jitsu Academy from Regina, please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Matt Semla! The referee in charge of the Hard Knocks action is Mark Aparicio.
Mark Aparicio in charge of the action, and we are underway with fight number 12 between Matt Zemlak in the black and white trunks, the red trunks for David Swanson, as Zemlak gets Swanson right up against the cage, and he talked about needing to use his wrestling, and the red beard is needing to do that early here.
Well, he's doing a great job in lifting that with the, you'll see the whizzer there with his right arm. And then any time where that arm starts to creep up, he'll switch to an underhook. Good wrestling here from David Swanson. We won't use his other nickname. He likes it, but it's derogatory to us redheads, I guess.
As a couple gingers ourselves.
Yes.
He's allowed to call himself whatever he wants. I'll stick with Redbeard.
Remember, only ginger can call another ginger. That's the important part.
Swanson getting a little bit of a warning from Mark Aparicio after he got caught holding the cage a couple times, but it does keep him on his feet, so it seems to have worked for him, as again, Matt Zemlak very adept at keeping him up against the cage so far, and maybe thought that was a bit of a low blow. Referee disagrees, and the fight continues.
Well, and the original reason that they didn't want fingers in the cage is a safety reason. Your fingers get caught in the cage, you get taken down, and bad things happen to your fingers. The other part of it, and that's the original reason behind it, the other part of it is guys started using it very quickly to correct themselves. Now with the warning given, David Swanson will not be able to do it again, or he might get deducted a point.
Watch your neck. Watch your neck.
So 12 fights into the card, no decisions yet. All finishes thus far, and these two fighters fairly evenly matched so far here in round number 1, although it's been Zemlak with the cage control to this point, having David Swanson up against the cage pretty much since the opening bell, Jim.
Yeah, and now finally does get the takedown, keeping him up against the cage. Tried to get to a point where he is able to land some strikes. There's an attempt there, and in on the neck, and try for a guillotine choke. But I don't think Swanson's going to be able to go to this. It doesn't look in very tight. He has got the guard now, so there is a bit of danger. But Swanson doesn't appear from our angle to be in much concern here, and he is continuing to fight. And normally if you start to punch, it means that you're not in too much danger.
Again, an arm in guillotine, and now out is David Swanson, and finds himself on top of Matt Zemlak. Swanson saying he's been wrestling 5 to 6 times a week to prep for this fight, has serious respect for the ground game of Matt Zemlak.
Yeah, and now on top here, and a nice up kick there, and then a return kick from David Swanson, as if you kick me in the face, I'll kick you in the leg. And now back on top, and that's the end of the round here. Just 3-minute rounds in the amateur fights.
Yeah, under amateur rules here in Saskatchewan, 3-minute rounds with 90-second breaks in between. So both fighters will get a chance to recapture their breath. Matt Zemlak, you saw him there right before we cut away to this shot, went down to the ground, his coach not bringing in a stool, but Zemlak going down to the ground. Jeremy, holding your opponent up against the cage for that long can be pretty taxing.
Well, it's taxing on both guys, the leaning as well as the staying up straight. Mentioned in previous fights, Randy Couture made a history out of doing it, leaning up against guys and wearing them out. Here we see the replay, and it looks like we're going to get the takedown as Zemlak moves inside, gets some knees, and starts to work lower. And again, some good knees here from Zemlak. We don't get quite to the takedown. Tough round to call because Swanson landed some effective stuff up top, but Zemlak controlled most of the round.
Yeah, I think if I were scoring it right now, the first round on my scorecard would go to Zemlak, if only for cage control, plus he secured the takedown. I don't think the balance of the strikes nor the last kind of 30 seconds of the round on top by Swanson would have qualified. He rolled out of the guillotine, he had control at the end, but he wasn't really able to do much damage. So in my books, first round to Zemlak.
And again, pushing him up against the cages, Zemlak.
Swanson doing a good job of keeping his feet, Jeremy, although as
nice
I say
takedown
that,
there.
a nice takedown. Zemlak really pulled him off the cage and had the one foot and kind of moved it side to side as opposed to forward and back, which meant that Swanson unable to hop along.
Yeah, you have to finish your opponent to the side, and by doing creating the space there by pulling Swanson off the cage, he was able to make the space. Otherwise, Swanson could just lean up against that cage, and it's impossible for a takedown. The thing that we have here, and the difference is when Swanson is on top, he is very effective at striking, and yet we haven't seen much from Matt Zemlak. But here we go, another guillotine attempt by Zemlak. But if Swanson falls out of this, and again, by striking, it doesn't appear that he's in any danger, he's going to end up on top. There's multiple times I've mentioned I don't like guys pulling guard in that guillotine because it's a very low percentage finish because it's trained so much.
Well, and you could see that Swanson never thought he was in any true danger and now ends up in a full mount. And we'll see what he can do from here. Gives up the mount in favor of side control and starting to drop a couple punches. Now he goes back to the mount, unloads with a big right hand. And Zemlak doing an effective job of staying away, but had his neck exposed for a moment. Swanson unable to take advantage, although you can see now he's trying to get both hooks in. At this point, he's going to have to flatten out his opponent. A little high, though, for my taste, trying to take his back there.
Yeah, he's got one hook in and now laying some hammer fists down to the face and then a little more of a direct shot, but Zemlak coming back with a leg attack.
And you can see Swanson attempting the arm bar there, but Zemlak able to squirm around it and end up in side control himself. So both these fighters going back and forth on the ground, each exchanging a dominant position. And now again, Zemlak holding his opponent down, driving a knee to the chest of David Swanson, and that a very important distinction because again, no knees to the head of an opponent at all here under Estevan rules. And again, going to the guillotine choke. And Jeremy, if you're not successful over time with this choke, that's really got to tire out your arms.
Well, it does tire out your arms, and again, he's putting a lot of effort into this, but it doesn't appear that Redbeard is in any difficulty, and his head pops out again. I can't stress enough that giving up a dominant position is not where you want to go, and you see that with Zemlak ending up on the bottom of David Swanson here.
And Swanson again ends round number 2 on top, a much closer round. Both fighters having an opportunity, and we'll see on the replay here some of the early action in round number 2. Just a quick leg kick there, but
nice time leg attack here. That's what they want to show there. Pushing up against the cage.
Yeah, and eventually he secure the takedown from here. So again, a very difficult round to call because at both points, both fighters found themselves in a dominant position. Both fighters found themselves trying to end the fight. So not an easy one for the judges' scorecards. And Jeremy, for the first time tonight, we're going to see a third round.
A third round. It goes to show that fighters are wanting to finish fights. They get out and really try and end the fight. And it's not that Swanson and Zemlak are not trying themselves. Zemlak, multiple submission attempts, but still has not been able to secure that guillotine. And I'm questioning how many more times his arms can hold up for something like that.
So the third and final round is underway here between Matt Zemlak and David Swanson. A kick thrown by Swanson, and first time we've got to a third round tonight, and it starts off the same way the first 2 rounds of this fight did, with Matt Zemlak having David Swanson up against the cage.
Yeah, and Zemlak doing an excellent job of being able to control the cage. The problem I'm having here is he doesn't look to be advancing the fight. He doesn't look to try and finish anything. Like we've seen the guillotines, but they haven't been very effective against David Swanson.
Zemlak now trying inevitably to work for the takedown as he has in the last 2 rounds. He tries to bring him down, but again winds up on the bottom, and this time without a submission.
Yeah, and this is going to be an opportunity for David Swanson to be able to work a little bit out of here. Hopefully be able for him to be able to get into side control and get back to where he's comfortable. But Zemlak doing an excellent job of holding him tight.
So at this point, Jeremy, it'll come down to the judges, I think, whether or not the position matters with Zemlak being on the bottom but trying to finish, whereas on the top, Swanson hasn't done much to finish the fight when he's been on top. There was the one armbar try, but really it's been Matt Zemlak pushing the submission action with the guillotines from the bottom. So it'll be interesting to see what the judges are scoring higher.
Yeah, very. Again, it's not an easy job to be a judge, and it's kind of those points that you calculate in your own head. This is a point, and again, no official points for judges, but they have to be saying in their mind, okay, red is winning, now blue is winning, and just to give that 10-9 must system that we do have in MMA.
Again, Swanson still on top now, working his way out of the guard and now into the half guard. Now he's flipped into a mount, and we'll see whether or not he can keep Zemlak down, and he can't, but a big knee once they get back up, and again, Zemlak has Swanson up against the cage.
Yeah, and a nice push there for Zemlak, but again, I would love to see him have an opportunity to be a little more aggressive here. The wrestling in itself is aggressive, but it's not really looking to finish, in my opinion. I'm sure that this fight is going to go to a decision, although Swanson is letting his hands go now.
Well, and a nice right jab and now another knee. This fight has been fought at close proximity the entire way. No effort for stand-up at all from Matt Zemlak. Just bowled in, and with just 10 seconds left in round number 3, this will likely be our first decision of the night. Swanson tried to end the fight tried to end the fight right there with a big head kick, but Matt Zemlak got out of the way, and now it'll be a matter of going to the judges. And again, the replay showing that it is Swanson on top and Zemlak underneath, and we'll see how much that plays into the judges' decision when we go to the scorecards.
I think both fighters can feel at this point that they could have won or lost the fight. I don't think either one knows in their heart that they are the winner, although David Swanson trying to show that he's got lots of energy left and a little less of something. Now the good thing is the judges' scorecards are already in by now, so thankfully there's going to be no judges reading into that. We will see. It's again our first official decision of the night, going to decision, I should say, and when those judges' scorecards come in. Again, either way, I think either of these fighters can feel that they should have won the fight, and either fighter could probably feel like they should have lost this fight. Looks like we have an official decision. Here's Doug Denantz.
Official decision brought to you by the Fight Network. The winner by unanimous decision in the blue corner,